Here we go, people, in PsyPost.com. Emotional dysregulation predicts belief in conspiracy theories, study finds. We're going to talk about this. I saw it, and I was like, I got to talk about this, because in my Psychology of Transphobia video, I talked about how being emotionally incompetent, in other words, lacking an awareness of what emotions you're feeling, not having a proper response to them, and not being able to regulate them. These things predict prejudice on all sorts of levels. Racism in particular, because racism has been the one that's most studied, but it obviously feeds into all forms of bigotry. And I was interested in how it predicts conspiracy theory kind of thinking. Because ultimately at the heart, I'm just gonna throw my bias out here right now, is I think that negative emotions, anger, frustration, sadness, emptiness, loneliness, these things can overwhelm your ability to rationally think, and I think we can all agree these conspiracy theory nutjobs are not the most rational thinkers. So, let's zoom in a little bit, shall we? How's that look? That looks good? That looks good. Okay. People who have difficulty managing their emotions are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories, according to a new thing, personality, individual differences. Okay. Emotional regulation involves, hey, look at this. It's what I just said. Being aware, accepting, and understanding one's emotions, and using appropriate strategies to control those emotions, and being able to control impulses that act in line. In other words, being able to regulate. With personal goals, even when experiencing negative emotions. So being able to get through your negative emotions and being a functional individual. Difficulties in any of these areas can lead to emotional dysregulation. I called it emotional incompetence in the Psychology of Trans video I did. Quote, scholars have argued that conspiracy beliefs have emotional underpinnings, such as anxiety. Recent research showed that not only aversive experiences such as feelings of uncertainty or stress, but also how people deal with these adverse... Boy, I'm really getting tested on the dyslexia. Now that it's actually up on screen, you're all going to see just how terrible of a reader I am, and you're going to question how the hell I even got into college in the first place. With these adversities, play a role in adopting conspiracy explanations. I'll speak from personal experience. So, the most cringe I've ever been in political beliefs was like 2017, 2018. I was kind of in the Jimmy Dore zone. I know. I'm embarrassed. I'll probably make a video about it one day. But it came when I was dealing with the highest amount of stress in my life. I had just graduated from college, and anyone who has graduated college or graduated high school and gone out on the workforce knows just how awful it is to try to look for a job. And on top of that, it's not just I was trying to fend for myself. You know, I'm trying to take care of my mom who had recently become disabled, and boy, that was a lot of stress, not knowing what was wrong with her, and I was feeling rather lonely. It's reckless. It was before I'd met you, right? And you know, men are great when they don't have sex. So I can speak from experience, and I'm not saying I went full on conspiracy theory, but the fact that I went into the Jimmy Dore zone, I mean, that speaks pretty bad of me at that time. And it was like I was so angry at the world that I was how do I describe it? It was like, for people who don't know what Jimmy Dore is, it's like the idea is like you're so pissed at the Democrats that all you do is rail against the Democrats, and you just ignore how bad Republicans are because, oh yeah, well, Democrats are bad in X way that's the same as Republicans. It's very whataboutism, and it's a nihilistic, angry at the world kind of way of dealing with politics, which is not healthy. In fact, I think it worsened my mental health to think in those ways. Quote, specifically, Manischewitz and colleagues demonstrated that maladaptive coping with stress is related to higher conspiracy beliefs. Love that they use the word coping. I think that part of the reason why, well, it's not even a think, this is just proof, that part of the reason why people have right-wing views is that they're just bad at coping. Ironically, considering what they say about people on the left. As a researcher interested in a related topic of emotional regulation, I aim to explore conspiracy beliefs in this framework. Continuing the quote, thus, my colleagues from the Polish Academy of Sciences and the University of Kent, that's a wide, Kent's in South England, and I hypothesize that those individuals who do not have sufficient emotional abilities to deal with they just said it. sufficient abilities to deal with emotions, that is, those with greater difficulties with emotional regulation. I would add emotional awareness as well. That's a huge one. And emotional acceptance. Like, a lot of these right-wingers could not possibly accept the emotions that they're feeling. Anyway, continuing. Might be more prone to conspiracy beliefs. Conspiracy theory beliefs, whatever. I read it accurately enough, okay? In an initial study, the researchers recruited 309 people. This is just telling you about the... Okay. With items such as the power held by heads of state is second to that of small unknown groups who really control world politics. This is a really well-worded thing, because the accurate thing is that as much power as politicians have, the ultimate holders of power are, in a capitalist world, which is what we live in, is people with money. Now, sometimes those are politicians. Take Saudi Arabia, for example. But it's not a shadowy cabal of echo sign Jewish dog whistle like this is. So this is well done. Well done, researchers. Academia gets crapped on so much. I like to throw some positivity their way. They also completed an adapted version of the difficulties in emotional regulation scale, in which they reported the extent they agreed with statements such as, "When I'm upset, I become irritated with myself for feeling that way." Oh, that's a great one. Because it's internalizing individualism. It's internalizing, like, if you're feeling down, that's on you, which is really an unhealthy way of looking at the world. Yeah, I'm getting a shaking head. Yeah, right? Isn't that like the worst thing if you have depression, is to blame it on yourself, right? Yeah, I'm getting the, yeah, what a true thing you just said. And a lot of these people don't believe depression exists because they're afraid to admit that they're depressed, because they think that makes them weak. Fear of weakness, huge thing with the authoritarian personality, and there is a large Venn diagram overlap between the authoritarian personality and these conspiracy beliefs. Another item they asked was, when I'm upset, it takes me a long time to feel better, and when I'm upset, I become embarrassed for feeling that way. Right there. That's the insecurity about feeling weak. We're all down, man. Listen, if you're one of these people, if you're a conspiracy brain person, like, it's okay to be down. Like, don't be embarrassed. We all feel down. It's pretty difficult to be happy all the time, and honestly, as difficult as things are, most people are working like more than full time. It's not difficult to feel unhappy. The researchers then replicate the findings from a sample of 411 UK participants who were recruited from prolific. Importantly, the findings held in accounting that social conservatism, economic conservatism, age, and gender. In other words, they controlled for all these things, and even still. More and more studies in different areas of social psychology, hey now, political psychology, this is what we're getting at, have shown that emotional regulation plays a significant role in the way we perceive, interpret, and respond to social issues. I believe, this is a quote from the researchers, I believe that our research emphasizes that emotional dysregulation might be related not only to an individual's well-being, but also to important social phenomena, which actually, in my opinion, makes emotional regulation even more important to work on. In other words, I guess they're saying, like, it's not just an individual problem, this has societal ramifications. All in all, it seems that how we deal with our emotions is linked to the way we interpret the world, especially how we comprehend some sudden events that evoke negative emotions and stress. You know, I can't help but think about the word projection in thinking about how right-wingers talk about, oh, you libcuck, bro, you're so emotional. When I wonder deep down, like, do they know? Or are they, like, totally lacking in self-awareness? Because one of the things about the authoritarian personality is projecting undesirable qualities onto other people. You'll notice this is very popular with conservatives. And you'll notice, like, dude, you're hating on the thing that you are. Like, the conservatives that rail against liberals just want to control you, and then the same people, like, they want to like war on drugs hardcore, want to ban abortion, you can't be gay, and it's like, these are the people that talk about liberals just want to control you. I really do wonder, to what extent do they know deep down? Is it a subconscious thing? Well, obviously it's projection, but to what extent is it in the back of their minds? I really wish I could see into it, but that kind of technology would be really, really unethical. I believe that our research... Oh, I already read that. The third studies. Oh, this is one of those. Oh, is this one of those studies? I'm sorry, I didn't look at the study. I'm just reading the article. This is one of those studies where they have like 3 experiments in it. Cool, I like those. Sought to examine the belief that in conspiracy theories rather than a belief in general notions of conspiracy. Recruited a sample. How much specific? Okay, gender ideology was created in order to destroy the Christian tradition. I wish, man. Tiny devices are placed in vaccines to track people. Climate change is a hoax. We're getting a facepalm off screen. The results of the 2020 presidential election were falsified. Yeah, that's a pretty good quartet right there.
As if it didn't just snow in California.
Yeah. We're, like, you gotta love how. Great point off screen. Climate change is a hoax. It's freezing in this apartment. You can tell that California is not at all ready infrastructurally for the kind of cold we're getting right now, because it's snowing in a lot of California now. We're in the Bay Area because we're special, so we didn't get the snow, but we got horrible storming and winds.
Hail.
Did you? Oh, it was hailing. That's right, it was hailing. Did you see there were 60-mile-an-hour winds? For real, in California. Climate change is a hoax. For me, climate change is a hoax. Like, climate change denialism for me is on par with denying the Holocaust. Like, the amount of damage that climate change will unleash, the famine, the horrible wars that will come about from a lack of water, potential nuclear war. I mean, it's potentially the greatest level of human destruction since, like, the Mount Toba super volcano eruption of 72,000 years ago. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where there's only like 2,000 people left after that?
I think that, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we don't need to get into that. Anyway, it's people having problems in their lives and misattributing where they should be angry. I can't help but think about all the people that hate trans people, in line with one of my recent videos. It's like, really? You don't think that there are bigger problems in the world than, like, hating trans people? Like, really? I get that they're, like, weirded out by it, but out of all the problems in this world, that's the one you're focused on?
Right.
It's just so dumb. It shows that they're easily manipulated by the media that they consume. Anyway, in study 3, in which we measured belief in various specific conspiracy theories, we concluded conspiracy theories that are appealing to liberals, presidential election conspiracy, and conservatives, such as gender conspiracy. We found out that emotional dysregulation is linked to a higher endorsement of all conspiracy theories we measured. They kind of get in that when they said that they controlled for conservatism, regardless of the specifics of the theory and participants' political orientation. This kind of gets on what I was talking about, where I had the Jimmy Dore brain rot for a while. Everyone has the potential for this conspiracy theory thinking. I don't want to come off like this is some essentialist, like this blob of people is essentially to their core different. They have a fundamentally different way of thinking. We're all on a spectrum, and we're all prone to all of this. And part of the reason why I like talking about political psychology is I want people to be aware of this stuff so they don't fall into this, because you just know that some of those people that were at January 6th, some of those people used to be progressive. Not that many, but some of them really used to be progressive. And I don't want people to fall into that. There is an important question for future research to address, the issue of causality, because correlation doesn't equal causation. Have you heard of that? I don't really care about causation, really. What matters is the correlation, in my view. I don't care if the conspiracy theories cause emotional dysregulation or if the emotional dysregulation causes conspiracy theories. First off, I would argue the causal arrow works both directions. If you think in a conspiratorial way, you're training your brain to misappropriate your negative emotions. In the same way that transphobia does that. Does that make sense? Did I articulate that in a way that made sense? Yeah. Cool. Fear leads to anger. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. God damn it.